I think someplace like the town where I grew up, places like that inspire pranks just because there's nothing to do. We didn't have anything to do. If there had been stuff to do, we probably would have been doing all this dull, uninteresting stuff. But it was just a place where nothing happened. So if we wanted anything to happen, we had to do it ourselves. It started out, I think, out of just juvenile delinquency, just raising hell. And then at a certain point, just the whole process became more gratifying than any actual aim we would have for it, to where it would be fun just to go out and play games with people, screw around with their thoughts. And it seemed like in school, like in high school, there was like opportunities for doing something like that each and every single day.
They'd say, "I'm afraid you've made a big mistake this time, Boyd. You're in some deep trouble." The teacher would tell me that, and he'd send me up to the principal, and then the principal would tell me that I had made a very grave error and was in big, big trouble. You know, I'm going to have to tell your parents about this. And then my parents, I'd go home, my parents would say, "Welp, the principal of your school called today, and he told us that you got in some real trouble." You know, it was like everybody, trouble, trouble, trouble. Everybody was always talking about trouble, but I never saw it. You know, it was just trouble to them because I was doing something that they didn't think was right.
When I was 16 or something, I worked at Taco Bell for just a very short while, just long enough to cause enough trouble to get kicked out of there. I made this dish when I worked in a Taco Bell. You know, they have the things out front, tostada, quesadilla, these Mexican dishes with little accent marks over them. And I was looking, I found a whole bunch of them one day, and I was looking at them and thinking, it would be funny to make my own dish, but have it be absolutely unpronounceable, but have the little accent marks there and have it spelled phonetically. And so I did this. I made something called a bean kerchacher, and made the sign. I made the whole dish, and I had it really irresistible, like 39 cents each, but if you bought one, there's an introductory thing where you get another one free. And nobody could pronounce it. They'd go, "I'll have a bean kishke." Nobody could pronounce it the way I could, and I go, "Bean kerchacher." They go, "Yeah, bean, what you said." So there were these really unpleasant things. They were mostly lettuce, this dry, salty lettuce, and some dry tortillas. And they usually get about halfway through and then come up and say, I need a soda to go with that. It's kind of dry. The more we did pranks on people, the more we learned that it's absolutely endless. It's absolutely open-ended. When I used to live in Lemon Grove, I used to look in the meat section of the supermarket. There were always all these weird things like pig snouts and pig's tails. They had also sheep's heads, skinned sheep's head, with the eyes still intact, and the tongue coming out the side, the teeth and everything. It looked really gruesome, and I was always thinking, God, there's going to be something I can do with that. One time, Betty Ford was going to be in town, and I thought, I ought to get one of those sheep's heads and make a big sandwich sign attached a sheep's head to it and go down and have some sort of weird protest and have these vague slogans that people couldn't quite get on where I was coming from. So I did it, and I went down there, and at a certain point I noticed this big section was cordoned off, and all these people were standing in line and all kind of looking back at this door way at the back of the building. And all these people had bouquets of roses and stuff. And I realized that Betty Ford was going to come out that door and go down and shake the hands of all these people and accept all these presents. So I thought, well, gee, it's too bad I didn't bring something really neat to give Betty Ford. And I thought, hey, I'll just take this off and give it to her. So I untied it and put my stuff down. And I was going through the crowd, and I go, excuse me. And people would sort of turn around, and they'd see this thing, and they'd just go like that. So even though there's this crowd of hundreds and hundreds of people, it's just like in a matter of a minute or a half, I was right up at the cordon, right up front. She was about 6 feet away, so very close, and the Secret Service man came up and said, "What's that you have there?" I said, "Well, it's a skinned lamb's head." I said, "I thought I might give it to the First Lady." Well, would you mind coming with me? And he gripped my arm and led me away, got me to the car, and like put all my stuff in the trunk of the car and put handcuffs on me and searched me all over and was looking down my pants and stuff. And some guy runs up in the crowd and says, "Officer, I saw him earlier and he had a knife. I saw him with a knife." And the guy says, "Well, I didn't have a knife." The guy says, he had it earlier. I saw him. And I was thinking, oh, wonderful, wonderful, because this guy wants to get involved in something he thinks is important. You know, I'm probably going to spend years in jail. People are filing past the car looking at me, and there were old ladies with little brownie cameras taking pictures. Everybody was kind of saying, "That person's crazy. That's a crazy person in there. They're going to lock him up forever." So they were asking me all these stupid questions, and they're all talking about it amongst themselves, and one guy says, well, we were kind of thinking of not even booking this guy. We ought to just take him out to the middle of the desert and leave him tied up to a chair for 3 or 4 days, just to think about the seriousness of what he's done. Saying, the seriousness of what I've done nothing, and these people are ready to kill me. For hours and hours, I was just sitting in this big empty room, and I realized that they were going to come in and they were going to want to know exactly why I'd done it. I was thinking, oh no, why have I done it? There's no reason. I just did it because it'd be fun, but they're not going to understand, police mind isn't going to understand fun. So I said, well, I'll tell them I did this, I had this ugly thing because I'm a vegetarian. I'm a vegetarian activist, and I'm concerned over equal rights for animals. And I told them that, and they completely understood.